they said the spreadsheet was the first super app.
Yeah,
PC.
that's what they said. What was that?
VisiCalc.
VisiCalc, right. That's right.
Those guys from, and they didn't
Yeah.
they didn't patent it or whatever. They were from Yale.
Yeah.
And then Lotus came in and
There they
made all the money.
Yeah.
There was one, it was called Smart Suite.
SuperCalc and VisiCalc.
Yeah.
Really nice. Smart Suite
Smart
was
Suite.
a word processor, database, spreadsheet,
File
something
manager.
else. Yeah, and a serial
He
terminal.
was in the box.
It worked really well.
Good stuff
I
in the
loved
box.
it.
It's just not what
They
we
just went out of business quietly one day.
Did they?
Yeah, no
Here's
idea
your
why.
world surprise.
So I could start early.
What was that spreadsheet the government used in database? It was called Enable, and then Microsoft bought them out.
Really?
Like
Foxbase?
it was called Enable,
Or Fox
Yeah.
Pro?
Fox Pro, right? Yeah.
but this was called Enable, and federal government used it. The IRS used it, and then one day Microsoft bought them out. That was the end of that. They had to go to
What
Microsoft.
happened to 2020?
Yeah, 2020.
I don't know.
Fox Pro. They were out of Twinsburg, Ohio.
I haven't been there since 2015, but the IRS was still using Sun boxes for their database.
Yeah. Yeah, that Fox Pro, and then they were up at Twinsburg, and they got bought out by somebody, and I can't remember who bought them out.
Who's producing the big Linux boxes nowadays? The Suns.
Everybody.
Is Sun still a major?
Sun is still in production.
They number
They're
one.
not big. Oh no.
Who's number one?
Probably HP.
Oh,
They-
really?
They're still doing some of their Himalaya servers. The unstoppable HP. I mean, these are things with 50 core or 50 processors, and they're hot swappable. So, and my favorite fun fact of the top 500 fastest computers on the planet, 0 of them are Windows.
Is that right?
Every single one of them is.
Don't
is
say that
Windows.
to Frank. You'll hurt his feelings.
He probably knows that.
Yeah, 500 of
Yeah.
500 of the fastest computers are entirely Linux.
Oh
That really shouldn't surprise anybody.
yeah. It really shouldn't.
It really shouldn't.
No, yeah. They're not really made for speed. They're made for generic users. Me being generic.
I just had a long argument with my boss about this at work. So
Is he a Windows guy?
yes, he is. I
I'm
run
just a guy that tries to use this crap and survive.
I
Windows has more software. That's just
Yeah.
a fact.
Yeah, it does.
It does, and there's a whole bunch of people that will tell you that it's better software and a lot of things, but if you try Linux, it's surprisingly usable. And from my perspective, it makes sense. I had a user today.
As a supporter, Linux is highly desirable. If I were
Oh,
running
yeah.
a system, I had that system, so
Mhm.
it's unanimous. You want to change a function, or you want to change an app. There's no comparison.
Yeah.
Having to fight Windows.
I had a user this morning that wanted PDF files to open up in an application instead of embedded in the browser. She's using Internet Explorer. Okay, click on the gear icon, go to,
Something.
go something, and then click on the tab that says show all something. Apologies.
All files.
Now, and she comes back with, well, it isn't showing anything. There are 4 options in there, one of which is show things that have altered permissions. And if you click on that, then it shows all the things. But clicking show all the things doesn't show all the things.
yeah.
It's like, that's so Microsoft. There's Okay, I apologize.
Well, here's what me and Vicente. So Vicente was trying to set up a Commodore 64 emulator to run on his Raspberry Pi.
Mm-hmm.
He's using Windows to try to do this.
Oh, no X.
Well, anyway, his monitor, the image that is given has already set the display size
Mm-hmm.
up. His monitor doesn't support the display size or the frequency that is
Oh, okay, yeah.
is given. So I said, well, that should be an easy change. Just go in, just put the SD card in there, change the config text file to whatever,
Mhm.
and I gave him the list of the supported modes for the Raspberry Pi.
Yeah.
He stuck the card back in there, and of course it said that it needed to be formatted because Windows doesn't recognize
Yeah.
the Linux partition. I said, no.
Ignore that.
Ignore it. Just cancel that and say go to the FAT partition. There's a FAT partition that shows
Mhm.
up. Do it there. And he was like, no, this sounds too complicated. Nah, it's real simple.
Yeah.
But here's my thing, right? So Windows loves Linux now. So why don't they build into Windows the able to read the other formats where
Yeah. That was
Where-
available years and years ago. I remember in 2000, there was a driver you could install to read ext2 and 3 file systems.
but
And it worked well.
Linux just does it natively.
Oh, yeah.
It can read pretty much anything you plug into it.
For those that don't know what we're talking about,
It's the
out of the box, Linux recognizes something like 25 different file types, or file systems.
file. Yeah.
HPFE and ext2 and 3 and
It
4
recognizes some stuff that
hasn't been used for years.
yeah, or stuff that
Where Windows
nobody
does.
will
Yeah.
ever use except unless you're in one of these weird fields.
But here's the issue. Okay, if you look on YouTube and you want to look at a YouTube something like education or something like that, they don't say if you got a Linux system. They say, well, if you're on a Mac or if you're on a Windows system. So the friction for being on a Linux system exists in that world too.
That's true. I will give this. You can just pretend you're on Windows, and most of the things work the same.
Or pretend you're on Mac, and a lot of the stuff will work this. Well, it's
No, it
it's
can't be both.
BSD based.
Yeah, Mac is BSD. It's
Can't be both.
I-
Come on,
so
get it
okay.
together, guys.
Well, no.
Okay,
See,
quick story.
BSD and Linux
Yeah.
are related.
Right.
Yeah.
They're related. They're not the same. So when I talk to somebody about one of the apps or something I've written for Linux, and they want to run it on a Mac, I say, well, it's going to be very, very close to the same thing. It's going to be tweaked a little tiny bit different, but it's going to be really close. So going backwards, if you follow what they're saying for the Mac, you should be able to figure it out for the Linux.
In my case, my knowledge of Mac is very dated. A long time ago, my ex-wife and I both came into some money and decided to buy computers, and she bought a Mac because she didn't want me to play with her computer.
Wow, and you're the system guy. She didn't want you to touch her computer.
Oh yeah,
Wow.
well, that makes sense.
Was she a
to me,
system
actually.
person too?
Mhm.
She was.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well,
Um,
okay, I understand that.
And actually, the reason I got into Linux was because I was damned if I was going to spend $100 on a piece of software that would network Windows and Mac together. And at the time, I was working at PC Upgrades, and one of the guys that was one of my techs, I was the lab manager, and one of my techs came in and was like, "Oh, I've been playing with this cool operating system Linux," and this was Red Hat had just released 2.0, and the kernel version was still in the ones, I think.
More
And,
or less.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, no, Red Hat released at 1.0, at kernel version 1.0.
Okay.
Or no, they didn't, 1.2. And he's like, oh, there's this cool piece of software. It's called, I don't know, it escapes me. And you can share files as Samba on one side and as Apple file system on the other, and it just converts things in between. I'm like, really? And I spent a year and a half trying to get a Linux box working, and just beat my head on Yggdrasil Linux, which is gone, and SUSE, which was horrible, and all of these different distributions. And it turns out that it was just a totally unsupported motherboard. It was an AST with a bizarre IDE connector, and I could never install it. I got a Pentium 60 when they were brand new, and it came with Windows 3, and I used it for a while, and on a lark I dropped in a Red Hat 4 disk, and it loaded, and everything worked. The sound worked. When I reloaded Windows 3.1.1, it took me 2 hours to get the machine to be usable, to the point where I could use the backup tapes to restore my files.
That early Linux, that was the problem with it, was it didn't support a whole lot of stuff.
Yeah.
If you didn't have the right hardware, it didn't know a whole lot of, and that's all changed. I mean,
Yeah.
hardware is not really an issue anymore.
Yeah, and I think it's your entry point into the world. And I think those entry points is an issue. I know my thing has always been trying to interface hardware or something like that, and it was just and then it's just Windows
I
just-
bought a printer. I think I said I bought two printers. I bought a Canon laser printer, and I bought a Brother label printer.
Mhm.
Label.
And both of them, the manufacturers had Linux support for them. I mean,
Yeah.
it was just download the dev file and set it up. It was just that easy.
Yeah, I know. Lucky I got this.
But
Let's reboot it.
Did
I
you
have a
guys
spare
have
battery if you need it.
Double
Talking
A.
about systems? Did
Yeah.
you guys have trouble with your clocks in the last 2 months? I had trouble with my nationally linked clocks.
You got one of these?
Having the wrong-
You seriously got a battery
the
in
wrong
there.
time.
No,
You'll
I
be able,
don't.
you'll be able, let's
Yeah.
make a deal. That's okay, don't worry. I can do
That-
this.
And the wrong date.
Oh,
And
wow.
the wrong day of the week.
The
And
old
it-
the old system that I just fired up after a year and a half or whatever, it had the wrong time. It was it told me that the clock battery was dead.
Mhm.
I said I don't care. And when it came up, it got the time from the
Woke
time
up.
server and had the wrong time. And I'm like, it was only off by an hour, but it was the wrong time.
Oh, that's not bad.
He had the wrong year.
I have an old
everything.
It's just not showing up with that.
I have an old Timex alarm clock that plays cricket sounds and stuff that I like. But it's old enough that when it thinks daylight savings time starts and ends is wrong.
Yeah.
And so for 2 weeks every year, my radio goes off at the wrong time. I'm just too lazy to reprogram the thing.
Well, I think that's what.
Eventually,
I
we
think
may
that
not
old-
be on daylight
that old-
savings time all year long instead of 3/4 of the
Well,
year.
that old computer, I think that's what the problem was. It didn't get the time zone updates, and so it thought it was an hour difference. or
Germany's
whatever.
going to vote whether to drop
So you run
daylight
it on
savings
Linux
time or
instead.
go on to it.
Do I?
That's why
all
we run it
the
on
time.
Linux instead. They set the
I
time
don't
on
like
UTC and
changing
leave it
back and
alone.
forth. I don't care which way they can.
It didn't bother me
Call
because
noon,
all I wanted to do was
midnight for all I care, but
all I really
I
was
just like it to stay that
doing
way.
was updating
Well,
it
you
to
know, we're
make
on
sure
daylight
that it
savings
was
time
still
3/4
able
of
to
the
get
year
the
now
updates
anyway.
and everything.
From March to November.
So I started the Windows partition up and let it go from
like-
the original Windows 10 clear to 1903 and
Hmm.
said, okay, that took several hours.
Yeah.
And then I went into the Linux partition and went from, Ubuntu Mate, 1804 to 1910, which
Mhm.
didn't take quite as long. It still was several hours, but it didn't take quite as long as it did for Windows.
Yeah. Actually, I'm surprised it took that long.
All right, you ready? You want to
Sorry.
start?
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
ready.
we're ready.
Okay.
Drum roll.
Who wasn't here last time, so I know.
We're goofing off. We're ready.
I don't think I've
You
seen it.
weren't here.
I don't think I've
That's
seen it.
mine.
You walked out. I know you got pissed and walked out or something. Slam
Speaking
your
of
fingers.
speaking of bad clocks,
Yeah, I wasn't
this
here.
says it's
okay,
10
good.
o'clock.
So that's
It's new. It's
okay.
new.
So it's only three that was here and me, of course. But I did add some new stuff. So
That's Zulu time.
Okay, I'm ready. Yeah.
So
Marcus has the floor.
I have the floor. Okay, maybe we get more people.
Vicente's here.
He came late the last time, so he missed most of it. So, okay. So anyway, this is my IoT project, sort of an addition to my IoT project that I've shown in here before. Went through the whole review and all this stuff, and I showed it. Wow, 3 weeks ago. That was 3 weeks ago, and Grand Poobah wanted to sort of advertise a little more, so I'm doing it again. However, in those 3 weeks' time, I've actually expanded stuff, so it'll be stuff that you haven't seen. So that's the good news. But basically, my goal was to add some Christmas-like functionality to that IoT project. Cookies. Check the date.
Oh, these are plenty good.
All right, you found the date already. I didn't see it.
Let me see.
Oh,
Bacon?
wow.
Yeah.
You packaging yourself?
I found what was the receiving of the package.
Okay, anyway, let me go. So, anyway,
You said he already had.
Dun, dun, dun.
okay, you guys got your snacks now?
Yeah.
Did you bring some milk or something?
Milk and cookies.
Yeah, like milk and cookies. That's
Coffee.
right.
Coffee.
That's right.
Take a sip and pass it around.
So anyway, as you guys recall, is that this was my control panel that I had. Actually, it sits in I got a picture of it, but it sits in my under a cabinet in my kitchen, and basically it has more functionality. But for all this controlling any IoT device, any Internet of Things device, that was sort of the control panel. I set it up it just basically control the lamp. I mean that's its whole life, to control the lamp. So, however. Yeah, no, it has grown a little bit. It's grown up a little bit. So it's went from just controlling the lamp, which is this little thing. Yeah, my cursor's there. Yeah, that was the lamp there. It actually grew to controlling the fireplace. And just recently, it grew actually to controlling the garage lights and the driveway lights. And also, if I double click here and here, it'll open up either the garage doors. And these little bands on the top are actually indicates whether it's, in this case, whether the lamp is on, in this case, whether the fireplace is on, this garage door up. And I sort of went back and forth on the color of that, but I guess from a long time, my whole thing has always been, if you're looking at a dashboard, it should be at a glance. I mean, when you look at it, you should be able to see exactly, so they'll actually turn red when the garage door, because that's the condition that I sort of want to know about more so than when it's closed, right? I mean, if the garage door is open, I'm ready to go up and go to bed. I mean, yeah, okay, sure, the garage door is closed. So, actually, that's what it is. So these are the bands, how they turn red. Now, what I didn't have the last time when we spoke 3 weeks ago is I didn't have bands across this old section over here. Was put in for just Christmas light stuff. And this is actually the control thing that actually controls all of that. These are those Sonoff things, and this is actually the box. But these is, one interesting thing about this, and you guys may comment on this, is that one of the things, I actually ordered some of these. Actually, the funny thing, the real bad thing about it is I ordered them from China. I'm telling, I had to get this thing going. I had to actually go order them from Amazon. They took so long from China. I'm talking, I never had. These took 3 months. I'm 2.5 months, no lie. And I just got them 2 days ago.
From Amazon?
No, the ones that I ordered from China.
2.5 months.
So I had to
ago.
go to Amazon because Amazon's more expensive, of course, but they sell them. And so I had to go. I got to get the thing going. I can't wait. You know, it's Christmas. I got to get it. So. But the funny thing about it is, I ordered some from China at one point. The old ones. This is actually version 3. Version 2 has the tracks. See these wires right here? The tracks were actually on the board. So I don't know if it was safety issue or it was, you know, a current issue. I don't know which one. But they had mating tracks on top and bottom, so they just sort of split the, you know, the current draw. So now with this wire thing, and so I was like, I'm gonna send no damn things back. This must be older ones. Cause I'm thinking they were older ones, and I start looking on the internet, and I saw version 2 on the back of the board, and it's like, okay, well, I guess this is what they're doing now. So, you know, that's manufacturing. That takes them a lot more time to do than those daggone traces. So sure. So anyway, but this is the box. If you guys hadn't seen it before, this is the box they come in, and now actually I'll get into the rest of them. You can pass that around if you want. But so anyway, this section here on the right is actually all dedicated to what the Christmas lights are controlling these Sonoff things, and I'll get into a little more. But there's a timer on here where I can set the timer. This check mark is I can leave the timer set and actually turn the check mark off if I want them to stop coming on at a certain time of the day and shutting off at a certain time of the night. So, and of course, again, the red bars are indicating that they're on, and I'll show you what this grouping means.
What are the green bars?
The green bars, they're off. Yeah, the green bars, they're off. And these are actually sort of grouped together, and I'll get into a little more. But there's that panel. It actually keeps Alexa in company. So.
Or that your
Quick
dot,
question.
your Echo
Yeah.
dot?
The dot after panel, is that red if anything is on?
Oh no! You know what? That's old. It used to be on just for that lamp.
Oh, okay.
It used to be on for that. I mean, but so I just didn't take it out. But it used to just when I had one function, that was what that was for.
So that's hanging down. That's your Echo dot.
The Echo is, yeah, it's actually sort of mounted to the wall back
Okay.
here. It's actually sitting back and on that little ledge there. So that's Alexa. Okay, so now we're gonna go back in time a little bit. If you guys were here doing when I said, okay, this is the time I'm releasing all of this stuff to the wild, and I started going through and I showed you the house and how everything was connected up. So I want to show you basically how all these things sort of make together with this control panel now, because the control panel, of course, is new. So the garage door, they have these little relay, and these is actually in a enclosure out in the garage. And I modified my actual manual garage door opener and actually took 2 wires in there and found that where when you hook the wires up. So these relays are basically closing that connection. So that's where those come in. Now, and these read relays are actually on the garage doors, which come down, and it knows that the garage door is open. So notice I have the lines pointing to the little green bars, basically trying to show that that's sort of the input, right? That's where it's actually getting its indication that the garage door is actually open. And then if you guys recall, I took 2 of these Sonoff things and sort of took them apart and created this little panel here for the light. So that's actually sitting in my garage, and actually, so my wife gets pissed off at me because you have to sort of hold the button down a second before the lights come on. Why can't it just be a switch? That's how she sounded too, by the way. Nobody's recording.
Is that fireplace a gas fireplace?
It is.
I was watching Channel 9, John Mattery, some lady almost got asphyxiated.
Yeah, really. Send it to her.
It didn't have an outdoor vent, or she didn't have a carbon dioxide indicator, and the alarm company noticed her CO2 level was higher. She got out of the house, or she would have fallen asleep. And they said, John Mattery said you shouldn't run those for more than 2.5 hours a day.
Really? we in trouble there.
And they should be
I should already been dead.
They should be monitored. They should
Right.
be evaluated every year or so.
And I do. I wouldn't do it. I don't do it every year. But when I see it looking kind of, and especially when it starts to put off more soot than it should,
Yeah.
and gets actually the glass gets dirty, I'll usually have
A lot of them have outdoor vents. Too.
Yeah. Mine does. I mean, it has a.
That's
has a
good.
vent. Yes, sir.
Right underneath the wires, it says V1.
Oh, well, yeah, B0 was the first one, or zero, no version was the first one, I think it
Okay.
was. I think it was either no version, they didn't have a version, or they had, and I forget what it was, but yeah. Yeah, so that was, and now they have they have another version even beyond that, so, yeah.
Well, kind of.
Yeah, and it took me a while before I figured it out, but I had to keep going online, and then finally I found the information. Yeah. So, and again, there's, for the fireplace, there's just a switch. I mean, it's basically, they have a wire going up to a regular AC, and I thought it was AC at first, and I think I told the story about going through there and taking the thing apart, thinking it was going to be an AC switch, and I opened it up, and it's just a contact. Oh, crap. And so I had to redo it, but it took me about 2 hours to recover from that. So anyway, that's that. So, okay, we sort of went through, I don't know if we have anybody, I'm not going to go through this again, the MQTT stuff because of the audience, but basically how this thing works is just the basic part of it is this little thing in the middle is sort of the traffic cop, and it sort of controls the communication between all of the devices, which I am so thoroughly excited about that technology. It's kind of amazing once you want to add something to your, to this massive project. It's so simple. I mean, you're not going reprogramming stuff and redoing this. This thing is actually, this broker actually has been running. I think I reset it over the last 6 months. I think I reset it one time. I mean, it just runs a Raspberry.
It's a workhorse.
Yeah, it's just a Raspberry Pi just sits there and it does its job. And I have a little index card on there that I put under it. And when I first implemented, I had some programming issues, and I would write down anytime I have a problem what it was, and I'm going to look at it, oh, wow. It's been just trucking along now. So, I mean, it's just, and then, of course, this is just, I'm still stuck on the ESP8266s. Again, just because, I mean, they guys have moved on to the ESP32, and, Vicente and Leroy works with that a lot. I just haven't made the switch yet because I have circuit boards made up for these. I had, so when I have to make up something, it's like, so it doesn't take me long to do it. But I'm coming, Leroy. I'm coming, buddy. So anyway, again, as I don't think good at just have stuff in my head. And I think I'm one of those animals that can only have one thought in their head at a time. Not like Leroy and Vicente. I mean, they have multiple stuff going on. They'll put something together, and it's like I have to put it on paper first and then go do it, because it just I won't keep that. It's just different people. But for me, it's just, I'm not bragging on myself. I'm just accepting who I am. But that I really have to have it down, and then I start to understand really what I want to do. So what I did here is just went through and made it for every window has one of these little, and what these represent is those little Sonos devices here. Each one of those represent those, and so there are actually 13. This one back here actually is I got 2 dedicated to this area here, which is basically a Christmas tree. This one right here is actually we have these little wreaths or garlands going up the stairs on both sides. And it turns out I need 2 of them because one on the right hand side is a little short rail. It doesn't go all the way up, and then you have the old rail that goes all the way up and winds around the back up the top. So one is actually plugged downstairs and the other one's plugged upstairs. But I switch them at the same time, so they're actually switched together. So they turn those on together. So, and then we have some little wreath on the mantle, and then we have actually 2 trees. One tree in the front so people can see it, and then the other tree where all the presents actually go. So, okay. So after doing all of that, I said, okay, I'm going to need to group these things in some form or fashion. And so what you see here is and this is from the MQTT world, is that they have these things called topics. They're almost like addresses to what they call endpoints, or addresses to where what a device is going to get switched. You're basically given an address that says, okay, when you put this address in, it's going to switch this. And one of the things I always do, I always put a ID at the end. So every device that I use has an ID. So in this case, you can see we go from 11 to 16. And if you go down here, now I tried to color code them. So this is 11 and this is 16. So all the candles, and candles meaning these are the candles that are actually in the windows. So if you have 2 candles, there's one switch for that. For each candle is basically one switch. And so those are the blue ones. And then I broke it up into the green ones representing this one actually represents the
tree.
That, but now it's actually the family room. Basically the family room tree and the man on the family room. This orangish color is actually the.
You have 2 trees.
I have 2 trees.
Wow.
Yes, I got one in the back and one in the. Yeah, the one.
He's very Christmassy.
Yes.
Yeah. You know what? The funny thing about it is, interesting side note is, last year our kids are.
You're
grown.
like the Griswolds.
Our kids are grown, and last year I put the stuff outside, and my wife didn't say anything. I didn't put anything inside because it's always my responsibility to do it. So she said, "Are you putting the Christmas?" And it was like a few days before Christmas. Are you putting anything? You didn't say anything. I didn't put. I said, so last I want everything up this year. So there you go. But so everything went up this year. Last year I got away with it. And it was because it's a.
This year you had that.
Yeah, I put the candles in the window. Yeah, I put the candles in the window.
So you have a project manager.
Yeah, I have an operation manager. That's right. Hey, the secret to a happy marriage is doing what you're told. Somebody has to do what they're told. Now, if both people want to do what they want to do, well, it's a problem. So I just do what I'm told. Hear me, Jim? Oh, sorry.
Don't get me into this.
That's right.
I don't know you.
That's right, Jim. He started going out here. Like, so anyway, what I did is I started grouping. I wanted to group those so I can turn on certain things at certain times and not have to like turn on.
So you turn on the whole group instead of every individual.
Right, and that's so I grouped them in like I can turn on the candles, turn off the candles, turn on the living room functions, and turn on off the living room functions. And the same thing for family room, and then the one it can turn on everything or turn off everything. And of course, that's the one you use most of the time, right? I was like, okay, I'll just use that one. So with that, so basically, what I did in order to do that is, and we got into some discussion 3 weeks ago about this, is that I took another ESP 8266, and I programmed the functions in there to group there. So in other words. So when I push this button here, the on for all the lights, it actually goes to this ESP, and ESP actually sends information, the grouped information, to turn on all the lights, or turn on, so if I hit the candles, for example, it says, okay, I know the candles, I know the addresses, I'm going to send out these to the individual Sonoff. So that, and again, it's just thinking that through a little bit. I know we got that discussion 3 weeks ago about that. It's just, that's one of the nice things about is that it's like software, right? I mean, when software first, you had all of this abstraction down, and then every layer became easier and easier. So in a sense, this is like a layer, right? It's just a layer that makes it real easy for me to communicate and say, okay, I just want to turn all the lights on, period. And it goes off and does that. Okay. So, after figuring out, okay, so I one of the issues that bothered me every time that when I get ready to actually, I think I have a picture of this too, but when you program these things, what I usually do is, matter of fact, I'm gonna go to the picture. I think, yeah, here we go. Yeah, so you have to go through and put a header pin in here, and then they only use 4 though, so it has 5 here. But you solder in the header pin, and you have this adapter that I have to plug in. You have to hold this button down while you power it up, and then it gets into the programming mode. And it's like, oh God, it's like I got to do 13 of these things. So what I did is I got some of those little. You guys ever work with those little pins? Those
Pogo
little
pins?
Pogo pins, right? Yeah. So I got some pogo pins and I made up this little fixture here. So I no longer have to solder in the header. So I just push this down on here. Oh, it's leaving again. So anyway, that was again. That's what we do, right? You see, an issue is like, okay, that's painful to keep on soldering all those pins on there and plugging this thing in there. And,
Especially when you got a bunch of them.
yeah, that's where. And then that little button is my little button. I just hold down the button, plug it in, and it basically cuts power to the device, and so I can put it in program mode really easy. So it took, just once I got that going, it just took no time to get them all programmed, because basically all I have to do is, all of them are basically the same except for the address, and so I just go in and change the address, and we're good to go. So
you're using an FTDI.
Yep, that's the FTDI right here. It's
And
actually
got
takes this
that
one.
wire to your pogo pins,
Yep.
and you're pushing it down on there,
Yep.
getting a nice little connection going on, and you go program.
Yep.
Done. Program.
Yeah,
Done.
next semi-line is like the little semi-line. Yep, there you go. Yep, and the hardest thing about, and I actually, when I first started doing these, I would stick these wires in here and then they would spread all over. So I started soldering the tips of these, and just so these tips of the wires are actually soldered, so they stand up a little,
Yeah.
they stick in a little better. I don't have anything.
The red button is for?
The red button is basically cuts power to the because in order to get this.
I thought it was switches. So.
Yeah, it's just you hold it down for a while. I can hold it down and then let it up. Yeah, but in order to get these in program mode, when it powers up, when it powers up, you have to hold down.
Yeah.
It's that little button. This little button right here has to be held down to get it in
It's
program
to
mode.
coordinate the power
Yeah,
range.
yeah, and then right, exactly. It's like, hold down the power button, then actually it's the opposite. I hold down the power button, push this, let up on the power button, let up on this, and then I'm in
And
program
power
mode.
and use a reset button also.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can use
But it's better to plug in without power.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So, yeah, exactly. Especially on using those pogo pins, because sometimes they'll get off a little bit. Yeah, exactly. But this is, remember I was showing you guys, this is the older version. Let me see. Yeah, I think it would be on the back, but I don't think these had a version on them at all. I think it was, so I assumed that it was version 0 or something. But those are the old traces, and then the traces are actually
They're
matched on the
wires
others.
now.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of weird, huh?
Ah,
Yeah, that's what I know.
whatever.
Yeah, I don't know if it was a safety issue or what.
Yeah, they may have done it just to. So they've got the cut on the board to separate the one wire,
Yeah.
but if you wire it up backwards, now you've got 120 volts right next to your electronics,
Yes, that might be true.
and it would still run.
That might be true too. Right, but you still have the 100. Well, you have the 100. The one on the outside is actually the sort of your neutral.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's the neutral. That's the neutral. Yeah, so the actual power is actually coming through still closer to the board. Yeah, some guy was on. Some guy just didn't know electronics. He said, "Oh, you can just wire those up any kind of way. You can just either one, doesn't matter which one." Yeah, it does, buddy. It does. Matter of fact, if you see my little line there, that's that thick. You guys don't know that little thick post. That's actually your neutral wire. So that's the neutral that goes back if you don't have a three wire. So it does matter. It does matter how you hook them up. A lot of things will work either way, but that's why they started making those parts.
This one's thicker, but this one's wider.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
well, it's not thicker. If you look at it's wider. Yeah, I guess wider is If
If you try
This
to
is
put it
wider
in,
here on the end.
yeah, it only goes in one
if you try to
way.
put it in
Yeah.
backwards, it doesn't go.
Doesn't
right.
go
Right,
in.
yeah.
The reason it's wider is it's ground, and
Yeah.
something shorts
Yeah.
out, you want to have that
Yeah.
carry the most current.
Yeah, because if you, like you said, you try to put it in, it won't go in.
Yeah, I don't know years ago if the old ones were like that. I don't know, old houses they weren't, were they?
Nope.
Yeah.
No,
That's right.
and people who will remain nameless
Cut
never
those.
never actually shaved off the
I don't know anybody saying that.
People who will remain nameless never actually shaved off the plug to get it to fit in some of those.
I know.
You would never do that, would you?
Never.
Not to more than 100 of them. All right.
Or
Fire Marshal
accidentally,
Bill would
or
have gotten after
accidentally
you.
broke off the ground or the
Fire
ground.
Marshal Bill.
Oh yeah,
on the
clip off.
three line.
Oh my God, the stuff
Fire
we-
Marshal Bill would have gotten after you.
the stuff we used to have to do now. So anyway, this is just to show you how what. Unlike some people, my first iterations typically don't work. So I always have a bench set up. So in order to test the garage door opener stuff before I pull everything apart and stick it out in the garage, is that this was just a video that showed that you'll see these little bars right here that are red right now, and I'm moving this little magnet closer, and that went green, and that's sort of garage door too. Yeah, and I'll do it again so you'll see.
I see the lights on in the background.
Yeah, there we'll go to those next. Don't look at those.
Don't look at those.
Don't do this.
That's
Don't watch.
Yeah.
Pay no attention to
Yeah, that's right.
the lights behind the curtain.
So this one is actually. Oh wait a minute! I didn't. This thing sometimes. Oops.
Oh,
There's the lights. Okay, so this is a little test fixture I set up for the lights. And you'll see my finger comes in. Also, another thing, I can also control them manually. As you'll see me push this it's a little black button on top of those sonoffs, and
I like the little light that lights up.
yeah, that's that little light right there. That's to indicate that the thing's still listening. It's still hooked up to wireless, and that's one of the things I've learned with dealing with this IoT stuff. Is that sometimes they may lose connections. You don't have no idea. So if I don't see that little blinking light, and it blink even when it's on, it'll actually turn the little indicator on and off. You'll see it flash here. See how they flash? The little green light flash. That tells me that. If I'm looking across the room, I can see that. It's still working. Everything's still communicating. So anyway, that was that. And these are actually all videos in a row here, different things showing different stuff. This is actually a sequencing, so I said, okay. And one of the things about sequencing, you'll learn MQTT, a lot of times it doesn't go exactly like, they're not synchronized. Like if you say 30 seconds, it might be, they all come up at the same time. I mean, so I had to play with that a little bit to see this synchronization, and I think, did I start that? We'll be waiting a long time to start that. There you go. Turn them all off.
Do the Knight Rider.
Yeah. Turn them all off. So that it looks pretty easy right there, but it took me a while so I could get it to the right time before. And actually keep in mind that in the house there's obstructions, like some of the candles are upstairs. And so, they have one router, so it luckily it worked out for me, I think. And the final, let's go. This is actually outside. I was out there in the cold yesterday morning, guys, getting this for you, okay? Getting this picture for you. Just know what I went through for you guys. Okay, there you go.
That's impressive.
So now they'll all go off. So anytime I turn it on, it actually cycles through twice. And then what you'll see, if you look closely, you'll see the Christmas tree come on, where over here the Christmas tree will come on. There's the Christmas tree, and then these are the going upstairs, the wreaths that are on the garlands that are going upstairs. So anyway, that was early in the morning outside,
All right.
before the car started. So anyway, that is it, I think.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That was it. So. Got time, Jim? Time me. Jim, time me.
No, I was going to show you what Tuya does. White is off and green is on.
Yeah.
See how that?
Yeah.
That's the way they get around it.
Yeah. See,
Not
that's what,
using red.
and right. And I just wanted red because I really wanted it to. And for my case, is that if something.
Like
if
a
some-
warning.
Yeah, in a sense, it's a warning because when it's on, it's not always the good case. Because a lot of times if I look, because I went back and forth in my head, I could have used white, but it's like, the red is like obvious. And if I tell my wife, okay, the garage door is open, it's red, she doesn't listen to me most of the time anyway, so telling her it's red, she'll look at it and say, oh, in her mind says red means bad.
I see, I worked in the power industry,
Yeah. Yeah, red is like, oh yeah,
I got red and green, I don't know.
So,
Red is on, activated,
Red is on.
dangerous.
all right, so that's
Green is off.
After Christmas, you can put one of
Some
your
of-
candles up in the bedroom.
I
And
know.
if that light is on, you know something else is. Have it pay attention to what else is on.
Right, that's true. Yeah, and that's why I have to think about. Okay, I might just put these away for next Christmas. I'm going to repurpose.
Those are
them.
even cooler than I
Repurpose
thought.
them.
With the status light.
Well, you
How
probably
much? How much are the signs?
about $3.
Oh, really?
3 something. Yeah,
Jesus, I can't get the relay.
Yeah, I know. It's like it's 3 something. About $4.
They're under $10 on Amazon.
Okay.
Yeah, Amazon they're a little expensive.
They're more expensive on Amazon.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
But you don't have to
I'm
wait
willing
2.5 months.
Yeah, but I mean, the fact that you can program is the, I mean, for developers, I mean, it's endless. And that little flashing light is just because when they just come with, they come basically with this turns it on, turns it off, turns it on, turns it off, and that's basically it. And then when you reprogram it, it's like do what you want to do, basically. So it's a. And I was afraid of it first when I first started playing with them, so I spent a lot of time trying to this thing catch on fire or something like that. And I did. so I bought, I got one of those power meters and check, before I hook it up to something to make sure it's under usually half. These are typically rated for 10 amps. And I usually I won't do anything over 5 amps on them. I just won't.
And 10 is a lot of amps.
It is.
Control.
Yeah. So I was like, I wouldn't do it with 5 on them. So, but they're workhorses. They really. I mean, now I have. Yeah, you want to play one? I got a second.
Now you've got a pile
I got.
of
I think I got now. 12.
All that means is
I know.
you've
more
got
project.
more projects to do now.
Yeah.
Well, the
And
fear
you
was.
need to tie in the basement lights.
No, you're right. And
Yeah.
the problem with the basement lights is because I was actually going to do it because I would love to have one of the basement because it has the 2-way lights, and you can't. I don't know. I'm sure it's a way you can plug, do that, but switching I can turn them both on and leave them on all the time and just have this control in it, but I'm sure that's not going to work because you have the what do you call the switches on both sides too?
Yeah.
3 ways.
Three ways. Yeah. So that's
Yeah, you can do that with just a push button on one of the sending units,
right.
one of the sensors.
Three ways have 3 wires.
Right.
The hot is always on, always.
No, hot is switched.
Hot is
Well,
no.
hot has to be
hot is
on.
always on
Yeah.
in the Traveler,
in the Traveler,
Yeah.
right?
but
And then you switch one of the other sides on either one of the switches.
I
the so
I think I
it's been a
saw
while.
somewhere
so
that
the Traveler is always
Oh.
hot, but the pole of the switch
Is the one
goes
that's
to the light,
changed.
and
Yeah.
that is what's turned on and off.
yeah, I saw
Neutral
somewhere
is
they
always-
had
Neutral is
somebody
always there.
somebody used it wasn't these, but it was somebody using like just a single pole, and you could use 3 of those to do the same thing. You
Mhm.
can use 3 of them somehow to do the same thing. So I was thinking, okay, maybe I can use 3 of these, single pole to do that.
The I've gone with a company called Mercury, which
Right.
also makes low cost IoT stuff based on ESP8266. They actually have a set of 3-way switches that I think they were $24 when I looked. I don't have anything that uses 3-way, so it's
Yeah.
out of. But it's.
But you wouldn't need that. You just have your 2 buttons as momentary contacts, and any one you push toggles the state of the lights.
Yeah.
You can hook up as many switches as you want. You
Yeah.
push a switch, the lights toggle. If they were on, now they're off. If they were off, now they're on.
Yeah.
You can use one of those in each place.
In each
Just
place,
Mhm.
yeah.
push.
Can you hook a
Just
sensor up to that?
Oh,
Of
well,
any
yeah.
sort?
Oh, no, yeah.
So there are pins available to do things
Well,
with?
not like that. Okay, I was thinking like basically I can poll it from software standpoint to figure out. It's not a sensor that that's actually, there's not a point on it I can actually sense that it's on or off exactly, except in
Okay.
case I look at the light or something like that. So I guess you can that way.
I bet
but
there
I,
is.
but I don't know what are you getting at? What is?
Well, I was
your
just
point?
wondering if you could hook a switch up to this relatively easily that could talk back to your MQTT
Oh,
that
yeah.
this has
Oh,
been pushed.
that's a
Send a
good.
message.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, I got you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can actually, if you needed to, you can switch both or switch whatever way you want
Mm-hmm.
to do. You can basically, if one's pushed, it says, okay, I need to bring them both on in order to get the lights come. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm winging it. I'm sort of winging it, but yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. So yeah,
What's IFTTT?
that's the IF. Oh, that's if then if that. It's a service that runs in the cloud that allows you to, for example, if I wanted to email myself every time, I had that. If I wanted to email it every time my garage door opens, I can send a signal to that, and they give you a key or something, so it allows you to communicate.
And then you put
Oh,
in
cool.
a double pole,
Put that on
double
the mailbox.
throw if you want more switches.
Yeah.
And you can keep adding another double pole, double throw.
Okay, but that's a three-way switch, though. Was that then?
Yeah, that's a
Well,
double
that's-
pole single throw, and that gives you two switches that'll run a light. If you put in a double pole double throw, now you can add as many more as you want in the middle.
That's how it should be wired at your house. Though,
Yeah,
right?
that's exactly. Yeah, that's what I know. But I'm getting to, how's that help me?
He wants to get out of this.
Well, you've got the extra wire. You've got a couple extra wires to deal with, but you should be able to do it.
Yeah, I don't know, but I'm missing. Excuse me. I'm missing your point on what. How's that? How can that I interject the Sonos into that diagram to allow the Sonos to
That
switch?
was kind of why I was asking if there's an input on there that you can pull.
Okay.
If there is, you could take out the switch nearest the light
Okay.
and put the Sonoff unit in there, and that turns the light on and off.
Okay.
And then you use the traveling wire over to the other one to just have a push button, and those two, all the push buttons are wired in parallel. So any button pushed is a signal to toggle the light.
Yeah, I got you. I see what you're
That's an
saying.
awful big antenna wire there.
I see.
Yeah, you put a couple resistors on it, it'd be okay.
Yeah. It may be fixed for that, but
Yeah.
that's what hit me when I
Yeah,
saw
maybe too noisy.
Well, but that's not a problem for relative, because I'm already doing that in the garage, right? I have a Sonos in the garage, which are actually took out the the single pole switch and put the Sonos. So that plate that has the button on there, that actually has a Sonos in there.
But the wire is 4 inches long.
Well,
I was a little iffy on that when
Right.
we talked about that, but
Right.
one that's 50 feet long going downstairs and going in with a bunch
Oh,
of
I see.
electrical wiring.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, maybe.
Maybe. Yeah,
Maybe,
something
but
to be
maybe.
aware
Yeah.
of.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh.
You could actually have it run a very tiny 5-volt relay. Then you're drawing enough current that AC hum isn't going to be an
Yeah.
issue.
Yeah. But it may,
Oh,
may or may
right.
not be an issue, it's just something to think about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back in the good old days.
Oh, I remember. Yeah, I don't know if you remember because I used to wiring at Millicron back in the old days.
Yeah.
And anytime you had
90 degrees.
yeah, exactly. You saw my hand like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yep, exactly. That was a lesson learned. Yep. Yeah. So, oh my gosh, you guys are old.
Well, we talked about the B-type battery earlier. You want to talk about old? That's a 90-volt battery.
Mhm.
A little pack like that. You remember that? You do.
I
huh?
don't remember.
Yeah, vacuum tubes.
I do remember vacuum tubes.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay.
I
Cable
remember.
radios. Some of them, the older ones, had
36 volts, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
they had a. That's right, but I'm not sure about the battery, the 90, the B battery.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure everybody
So-
remembers the
so-
battery, the vacuum tube tester in the drugstores.
There are workplaces with push buttons or switches that use RF with a battery for years.
Oh,
It's
okay.
a Sonoff system.
Oh,
And
I
you can
remember in the
use
late
a
60s,
receiver
we had a color
connected
TV,
to a
TV
ESP
guy would
32
come
or
in.
SP
Just or
266, and
rear
you see the buttons of all the
less than
others
about 10 years.
in
Then
great
everything
range.
went to-
They are very cheap.
Circuits.
They replace the plate with a battery and a push button.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
It's clean. I mean,
it's funny thing about that. One time, either my driveway or my garage light wasn't working. I would push the button and nothing happened. I said, "Crap, I gotta take this thing." And I didn't do over-the-air updates on them. I can't do. I didn't set up over-the-air updates. So I was like, "Dang on it!" So I went downstairs, turned the fuse box, click, click. Yes! I was like, "Yes, all right." That was
they
like,
also have
Sounds like the
Wi-Fi
Griswold.
features.
that was awesome. I couldn't believe it. I was like,
lighted
"Dang on it."
garage.
It was like, and that was okay. Oh,
Yeah, they're starting to get some.
oh, I've seen
wall
those.
switches
I've seen those
now.
wall plates. Yeah, exactly. I haven't got to that. It's sort of, it's like it's already manufactured, so it's like it sort of doesn't get my attention yet.
You only need to add the software to use your MQTT.
Yeah, and Sonoff is doing a lot. They're making a lot of a lot of different stuff. Just like this. I don't know if you guys remember. What's the guy's name that's in California? Guys that comes here.
I knew somebody named Bob.
No, the guy, he sits here. He's
Art Elson.
Art, yeah.
Art. He brought in. Well, we both have those little Wise cameras, those little
Yeah.
boxes.
Yeah.
Now Wise they're making like all these other security things like door switches and I think they actually got a like a Ring doorbell type thing now.
Mhm.
So they
Yeah,
just,
well, that's what Mercure has done too. They're making
yeah,
the Ring doorbell thing, and
Yeah.
and it's cheaper than
right, yeah,
than the real thing.
yeah, exactly. Well, it's just hey, once you figure it out,
It looks like what Mercure has done is they've made switches so you pull the old switch out and put a new switch in that to replace the three-way switch.
Yeah, eventually all this stuff is going to be like you just pick out the one you want. And it'll be at Walmart. Well, they're already starting at Walmart.
well, the problem is that I think it was Lowe's took all their IoT stuff out.
Right.
They took a lot. I mean, they doing some of it, but they actually had they had a service. I forget what they call it, but it was an IoT platform, and they shut it down. They just recently shut it down.
They couldn't make any money off
Yeah,
of it.
they recently shut it down.
You're getting too
I
cheap.
think people try to get into it, and they think it's easy, just like GE. You know, we're a software company. You know, it's like they think it's easy in what it is, and it's like they find out it's a whole different discipline.
And it's cheap. It's too cheap. You buy, $3 for this. GE's
Well,
going to
that's
sell
true,
you
too.
one of these. No,
No.
look at them. They want $10.
Yeah.
So
Did you hear about
it
the
also
thing on
looks
the Ring?
looks like you can reflash the switches with your own firmware. So
Cool. So I have a question about reliability on these things. Years ago, I did a bunch of X10 stuff,
Yeah.
and it had a lifespan of about 2 months.
Did they really?
Oh yeah, it was awful. We lived out in the country, thunderstorms happened, lights went out. Or lights came on and stayed that way. But X10
Power
had
X10, yeah.
serious problems with surges and stuff. How does this stuff?
That's
Being
actually,
that this is a relay,
that's
and
actually a good question though, because every once in a while, I'll get that situation like, especially on the because the lamps in the family room, they are totally. I mean, we don't control them any other way. I mean, my wife, she has to go to the panel, or she has to say, Alexa, turn the family room lights on. Now she won't say that because she feels it's too much work. So it's like she got to remember and say it the right cadence and all that stuff. So she'll hit the panel and turn them on. And every once in a while, they'll either turn off. They've never turned on, but they've turned off.
okay.
And so but it's not bad. I mean, I'd
Okay.
say over the period of time,
Well,
those
that's not actually what I'm talking.
Oh,
With
okay.
the
Oh.
X10 stuff, there'd
talking about
be,
surging to blow them out.
yeah, and they were dead. They had to be replaced.
I haven't had the lamps is the first thing I put in, and actually I had some other things that was in, but those have been in for probably almost a year and a
Okay.
half.
Cool.
Yeah.
These are contact closures. These are not
Yeah.
the triac stuff. So.
Yeah, the triangle.
Yeah, but it was the processor on them that died.
The,
Uh-huh.
the
The
ones,
SCRs usually were okay.
the ones I've used, I've never had a problem with any of that.
Cool.
I've had similar problems where they'll go out and you've got to go and flip the switch again to
Yeah.
get them to come back on.
I had so much trouble with the X10 stuff that at one point Duke Energy offered a whole house surge suppressor. They'd take the meter off, put this thing on, put your meter back on top of it, and it was like $4 a month. And you then had a warranty on basically anything electrical in your house. If it died, they would replace it. And I kept that warranty for years until I moved, and then they no longer offered
Did
the
it help?
service.
Did they actually help? on
Oh,
those?
yeah.
Oh, did it really?
Yeah,
It made it much better, but I was still losing X10 modules.
Yeah.
one of the houses that we lived in had the whole house surge on it, and that it was an awesome service.
Yeah.
It actually worked. It actually did what they did.
I
And they
got-
would actually replace stuff
Yeah.
if it failed. They would actually do
I got
it.
some X10s at home if you want.
The
I appreciate that. No.
I got some. I actually got some downstairs on the basement. I got some of those things.
I've got
One
two
of
lights
my
still
Google
hooked into
Homes.
X10.
Do you really?
one of my Google Homes has lost its 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi, and I don't know why. I cannot get it to connect to the 5 gigahertz side, but the 2 gigahertz side, 2.4 gigahertz side works just fine. But every 3 months or so, it drops connection on that and will not get it back, and I have to go into the app and set it back up again.
Ooh,
Yeah,
I'd send that one back.
it goes to say that they no longer make that particular
Uh-huh.
model anymore.
You know what? And to that point, I have gotten some of these that's been dead on arrival. I got one.
DOA stuff.
Yeah.
It's $3
From
Yeah,
China?
that's like I don't even dispute that. I was like,
believe
okay,
that.
yeah, it's like yeah, exactly. But then I got one that the switch wasn't working.
Can somebody
Yeah.
let?
Oh, he locked him out.
We've locked him out.
Right.
Didn't take the hint? Oh,
Yeah.
I'm here for knitting.
Yeah, that's right.
The next one.
That's on Wednesday.
So on whole house protection, you can still buy those things. They're surprisingly inexpensive. They don't go under the meter. They go in your outlet, in your breaker box, and they're $20. They're definitely worth it. The last one I got is the size of a plastic pint can, and you stick it on the side of the breaker box. It's held in with a conduit nut, and you wire it into your neutral and your two hots. That's it. There's nothing else to it. They are definitely worth it.
Yeah, that was an awesome.
Yeah.
That because before we got that thing, we were constantly having power spikes, and
Mm-hmm.
after we put that in there, it smoothed the power out, and everything was nice and calm and even. And
First time I ever saw those, I was working at Kings Island, and I'm sitting up on the counter working on something. And the guy said, it sounds like lightning. You'll probably want to move. I'm like, what? That box up there, and it's this rack mount box. It had, I think it was 6, because we had 2 3-phase circuits. It had 6 varistors in there that were just gargantuan. Literally 8 inches in diameter and a ½ inch thick. Sometimes those explode. They were wired into the power that went out to the Eiffel Tower.
One of the days, right? I was the technology manager over here on Circle Freeway Drive.
Mm-hmm.
You know that, okay, you know what it was. But it's basically up by the Showcase Center off of Route 4. And so I don't live far from here. And all of a sudden I was working on something at home, and all of a sudden I lost connection to the computer, the server. And so I thought, it was Friday, it was nice Friday. So you want to drive up to CPI with me? So she said, yeah. So I'm driving up there. And it's like I get up. The transformer's on fire. The day I got traveling, it was like, oh my God, the transformer's on fire. So I run in and call the fire department. So and then we went in there and shut down whatever I could. So, but it was like, that was weird.
You gonna advertise your batteries, Steve?
Yeah. So these batteries, if anybody wants 12 volt, 9 amp hour batteries, I have 100 of
It's
these.
working?
Yes, these are
I
poles.
need one for my alarm system. But I
Hold on,
have-
let me finish. Let me finish. So
No.
we have a UPS at work that has 108 of these, and we replace them every 3 years. I have 10 cases of 10 of these batteries. If anybody wants any, I figured you would.
I want 8 of them.
You
No,
want
that's
10 in case some are bad? You want just a flat case? Good.
Good.
Go!
Easy. Easy.
So I brought 10 of them with me. This one's already been laid claim to. Anybody that wants batteries, I have them. Now, here's the I will give. They're 3.5 years old. They were in use. They never fully power cycled. They've got 20 minutes of discharge time on them total in that 3 years. I measured the voltage on a pile of them, and they've been sitting in the server room now for 3 months. They have not been touched at all for 3 months, and they're so far all of them are measuring between about 12.4 and 12.6 volts. So they seem pretty decent.
Get back to you on that. I'm like, check.
Give me a number. Any
Yeah, really, it better be more than 10.
Yeah.
Really?
No, I'll give out singles. I don't have a problem with that. But the more people want, the better.
But he wants to get rid of cases at a time.
Yeah. I'm keeping about 10 of them for myself, and that's it. I've got a couple of UPSs. Keep one spare set.
I sent him once and
Well, no.
One?
Yesterday I have trouble with my alarm system. I think it use 12 volts.
give him
It's
three.
half size, but it's okay.
I think 5 would probably be ideal. Think how long it would run with 5 of them. You just put them in parallel.
That's right.
You
Yeah.
got UPS system?
So a good redundancy, not overkill.
They're 12 volt, 9 amp hour.
Those are the F2 connectors.
Yeah, 1/4 inch quick.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll make us a note, so
Very faster.
Yeah. Yeah, those things have so many names. They are standard UPS batteries. There are 2 sizes in APC stuff. This is the smaller of the 2. You can put these in an APC that uses the bigger one. If it had an hour runtime before, and now it'll have about 40 minutes. But they're still pretty decent.
Under 64.
Uh-oh, what is he doing?
I'm being silly.
Who's he teasing? Who are you teasing?
This is
Mike's gonna take.
Yeah, I heard on they're gonna have a drawing for like
You're gonna have a sample.
Starbucks for life.
Let's circle around
I
and
didn't
have
bring
everybody,
that.
instead
I
of
went
going
for
into the
coffee.
bullshit session, let's do a circle and everybody gets their topic, because I have one too.
Okay.
Do you have a topic?
I really don't.
Okay.
I have no topic.
No topic? Any subject? You got your clamp on. You wanna talk about it?
Okay.
It's a clamp on.
Yeah, I brought my clamp on, which you can take
AC,
any way you
DC
want.
Clamp on.
This is a crappy Harbor Freight meter. Measures AC and DC, which is pretty impressive.
but it's crap.
That is the more
That's the
expensive of the Harbor Freight clamp-on meters. It measures frequency, AC current up to 400 amps, DC current up to 400 amps. It will track minimum voltage, current, frequency,
Did you get it
maximum
in the
current
parking
voltage
lot
frequency.
sale?
No, I don't need to.
I got a goofy.
I have a kid that works at Harbor Freight.
Okay.
I got a goofy question. Is do you have to separate if you want to do like just a power coming out of a wall? You got to separate.
Yeah, because the current coming out is equal to the current coming back, hopefully.
That's what they make extension cords for, and you.
Well, yeah.
Right, yeah.
You've
Yeah. Oh,
already
yeah. Yeah. I didn't know. I mean, it's been so long since I've used them. Maybe the technology's gotten to a point where.
That thing
You get the
measures down
family
to
discount.
milliamps. I was impressed
Wow.
by how sensitive it is.
Is that
You get
the
the family discount at
$89
Harbor
model
Freight.
or the $99 model?
That would be the 89, I guess. Yeah, the Ames. Now,
You get the family discount though, don't you?
I guess it was, but I thought it was 400 amps, not 600.
I probably upgraded it or something. Whatever.
That looks
Yeah,
very similar.
True.
and it has a flashlight, which was absolutely stupid.
Gotta have a flashlight on your
The-
motor.
I will give this. While I think that it's stupid, it's the backlight for the screen, and it lights up between the jaws. If you're working in a breaker box in the dark
There you
because your
go.
breaker box is broke, it
Yeah.
makes sense.
There you go. See, you just.
Not holding a flashlight in your mouth going,
Yeah.
where's that
The
one?
metal flashlight.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's good from milliamps to
Yeah.
how high?
The 400 or 600 amps apparently.
AC and DC.
Yeah. Yeah, I am loath to spend that kind of money on a tool, but that one's worth it. That
That's
is-
just a stupid multimeter that has a clamp on function stuck in there.
But yeah, but the.
Cow.
But it works
Yeah.
with GC.
Yeah.
I can tell you how many amps it takes to start a Jeep, and it's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
How many amps does it take to start a Jeep?
112. Pretty loose. It's got 200,000 miles on it. If it had higher compression, it would take more current.
Do you have a Jeep?
Yeah, I've had 9 Jeeps.
Okay.
I kind of like them.
You're a Jeep guy.
I've had at least 65 cars. I've had 6 Subarus,
9 Jeeps.
3 or 4 Volkswagens. The only car that I have consistently gone, why did I buy this, has been Chevys. I've enjoyed my Toyotas and Nissans and Subarus and Saabs and Fords, and every time I get a Chev, it's like, who wants to buy a Chev?
I've got a
The
Malibu that's
only-
got close to 200,000.
Chevs,
4-cylinder.
I don't know why, but for me, Chev seats are uncomfortable.
Yeah, they're kind of.
The only Chevrolet that I have liked has been the Astrovan. That's the only
Mhm.
one. Every other Chevrolet I've ever owned, I'm like, why do I want it? GMC or GM? Period. Any of them. I just don't like them.
Okay, Jim. What do
What
you got?
do you got
Jim?
going on, Jim?
We better-
My
we
mind
better-
zero out.
Let's get off of the car thing, right?
We better just go to Jim just in case.
Drone racing is on TV.
Drone racing?
Drone
Racing.
racing, huh?
It's fast stuff. Ray says he has one and he can't fly it because they're just lightning bolts. They go like,
Have you seen it? You've seen it? Have you
On
watched the
TV.
program?
Yeah.
Have you watched it?
yeah, it's exciting, good
What's
stuff.
it on? I mean, what's the?
It's on
I'll have to look it up on your.
ESPN.
DirecTV 623
I don't have DirecTV.
ELVN.
What's the normal kind of station that people normally?
ELVN is the
You got AT&T.
this race, they got races, I put them in the list. This is Salina, Turda, Romania. They also have one in Italy. I noticed there's another one coming up in Italy, and they are just
Do
crazy.
they have obstacle courses?
Fix it
Yeah.
again, Tony.
Yeah, they were, this last one was in a salt mine. They were flying in a salt mine. It's all decorated up.
So the cameras are actually the cameras on the actual drone is what they
Yeah,
use.
they're flying it by FB, the first person view,
Wow.
flying, and it's
Wow.
just
That
amazing.
sounds
It's
interesting.
incredible.
It
Wow.
says the
Oh yeah, go to YouTube.
the 2019 DRL Atlanta World Champion season will air on NBC.
Ooh.
Oh, that's good.
and live streamed on Twitter.
Oh, wait a minute. That's August 1. It's already
Yeah, that's already
It's
happened.
already happened.
It's already happened.
No, you probably got to. You probably can go on YouTube.
It looks like NBC probably. Where to watch? December.
This is the DCL 2019. Just do a search for DCL.
DCL or DRL?
This says DCL.
Drone
of course,
Racing
I
League.
typed it, so it could be either one.
DRL.
It looks like Drone Racing League is on NBC
Okay.
and Twitter.
That may be a different one, but then that's fine. Yeah. Show them the video up at the top or down there. They are just, it's just incredible what's going on, and it's got the young kids.
Where to watch? I don't really think
They're
that's a
X.
video.
Yeah, there they are. Those are the X.
Click on
There
watch
they
up
are.
at the top.
That's
Oh, so they're doing it inside. Oh,
Yeah.
that's inside outside.
They do it inside, outside. The last one was Romania. They were doing it outside in the city, in the capital city.
I don't think.
So a little kid gets hit in the head.
Yeah, that's Romania. Super
Yeah.
They've all come here to win, but to do so, they must conquer the biggest course they've ever flown, the most pressure they've ever felt, and of course, each other.
I was hoping they would be bigger.
Those racing ones are pretty
yeah.
tiny. Yeah.
So fast moving, I'm getting
It all
nauseous.
comes down to this.
Yeah, if you get dizzy, that's my thing, particularly when they do the FPV view.
I'm sure some of them wipe out.
Oh yeah.
Championships.
Yeah, this last one I saw, they had some of them go over the power limit, how much power you can use. They limit the battery size, how much power you can use, all sorts of
Does
stuff.
someone monitor that while they're racing?
Yeah. Oh yeah, they monitor everything. You got anything, Gail?
Yeah, I'm working on a program to block PD Live and drone racing.
Yeah. Well said. That's right, really.
Back in the 80s, there was a
Other than
song
that-
by Cheap Trick called The Dream Police. They could rename that to Drone Police. They watch everything you do.
10 minutes to go. I don't really have anything.
Okay.
It's your turn to talk. You have 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
Tap dance,
Yeah.
shadow puppets.
I was picking leaves all day long.
Doing what?
Picking the leaves.
Oh, leaves up off the ground.
Using a
I
little
don't know my
robot.
house.